This week in car audio. Tune in. What we talking about bass? I'm talking about chips. Talking about rings. You ain't got them, zip your lip. You got a problem you haven't found, check your grounds. The show about to start. Tune in. This week in car audio. Yeah. Tune in. This week in car audio.
Welcome to This Week in Car Audio with your host, the Judge, Doug Stockton, co-hosted by your internet sensation, superstar, video game guy, and actor, Mr. Jeffrey Fernandez. How's it going, Jeffrey?
Good. How about yourself, Doug? How you doing?
We are doing good.
Awesome.
Got to go meet my sister for the first time this weekend.
What?
So
you this weekend?
My half
you're gonna meet her?
sister. No, I did last weekend.
Oh, that sounds cool.
So yes, I got to meet my sister for the first time. You know, she's a half sister on my dad. From my dad. So we spent Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with them. I was in Vegas. I know your favorite little playground.
Oh,
hers
yeah.
also. So apparently,
how old is this half sister of yours?
She is 2 years younger than me. So.
Okay.
Yeah, DNA, and lo and behold, wow, you got a sister.
Wow.
Anyway, so it was really good to meet her and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, you can appreciate this. So we were at the Caesars, and we needed a car to go because we were going somewhere else. Oh, you know what? No, she was at Caesars with my wife, and they were coming to South Point to come watch me bowl. And, and as she's walking, my wife said the line had to be at least 150 to 200 people long waiting for cars. And she just walked right by him, flipped him the bird, and said, "Diamond, bitches," and just kept on walking and got herself an Escalade.
Nice.
So,
what do you mean car? Was that a car rental place?
No,
or?
it was at the casino. So she's a level 7. So I was talking to my other cousin, and she used to work in that industry, and she told me that at that level, let me see here, you guys might like this, hold on.
Yeah,
are you sharing? I am
there.
sharing the platforms right now. That's what I'm doing.
Nice.
Anyway, so she's a level 7. My cousin said that if she was one level higher, she wouldn't stay at the casino. She'd be staying at a mansion up there. So whatever level that is, that's what level she is.
Nice.
So
I need to get on that level.
So apparently she spends a lot of money there.
Oh yeah.
Maybe she wins a lot. She doesn't need to spend a lot. She can just win a lot.
Sure. Because they build those big, huge casinos on all those winners that are out there. So right now, guys, our guest is Judge, shop owner. He's actually been judging, I think, even longer than me.
Wow.
He's been
about the same time.
About the same time.
Yeah, but I mean, you definitely have more experience because I mean, I took like a 5-year hiatus when my 6th child was born. So
it was only the 6th. I'm sure it was like the 19th.
Yeah, I think so.
But anyway, so but Ray's been part of the judging rules since I don't know how far back. I know when I started out in this thing, the rule book was, I believe, 6 pages long, and now I believe we're at 26 or 28 pages. So Ray has been part of the rule making process and whatnot for. Since it really started growing, the rules started changing and growing. So, there we go. I'm finally shared everything. Let's see.
I kind of think that's an understatement, though. I mean, I think, Ray's been abroad. He's been in multiple countries, judging, head judging, training.
I would agree with that. So he's been judging. He's been, like I said, head judging, training. Let's see. Yep, everything's working.
Yeah,
Okay.
just trying to promote consistency across the globe. I mean, DB drag racing is in well over 40 different countries, and a lot of these judges, can't come to the US or to some of the larger shows and stuff like that. So, going to these other, countries and stuff like that really helps us make sure that we are all on the same page as far as how we judge, what we judge, stuff like that.
Yep.
Mhm.
We are going to have Wyatt on these and Ray as available. We're going to do it the second Monday of every month. This Monday is probably not going to be a lot of stuff going on just because the season really hasn't started for a lot of people yet. As the season gets going, I'm sure this is going to become a more popular thing. We're also going to start doing DIY stuff for you guys. Like next week's going to be reconing subwoofers. So we're gonna start doing some DIY stuff on here.
Oh, that'll
like
be
I said, all
fun.
this just- yeah, we actually gonna have Dan.
Dan Horner?
Yeah, Dan Horner
Oh,
on here to
cool.
show people how to recone a sub from scratch. So
Fantastic subwoofer builder, that guy.
he
Yeah,
is.
he's a pro. He's a
Yep.
pro.
Yep. So right off the bat, I want to mention our sponsors for tonight's podcast. We have Puns Customs. He had an issue, but I think I saw that he's just about getting ready to reopen again. He's got his
That's
stuff
good.
moved, and he looks like
That's
he's
awesome.
getting his stuff. I don't know if you saw Ray, but I probably didn't see. So his store caught fire 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago.
No.
Yeah, and it was like the whole store. So, yeah, so I believe he's got his stuff together, and now he's going to be reopening here shortly. He was still available to do stuff like out of his house and whatnot, but he wasn't available. Our other sponsor is Crossfire Car Audio. We appreciate those guys. Always remember to support those who support the things that you guys like, just like this podcast. More people support the podcast, the better off we're going to be. So anyway, guys, like, share this, do whatever you're going to do. The intention of tonight is you guys ask us a question. Last time you guys asked us a question, we broke the internet. So it'd be kind of cool. Hello, greetings from Excess Power, Sundown Audio. Sean Mayo popping in. Nick
Nice.
Semino.
Oh, Sean, we say hi.
Yeah, Nick
I was
Semino.
just with Sean actually in Vegas.
Oh,
at,
yeah.
at Knowledge Fest.
The Knowledge Fest, right?
Yeah, him and Scotty were both there. It was good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he
That's good.
posted a couple of videos too.
So, like I said, so I think everybody should be aware of my credentials, Jeffrey's credentials, and Ray's, especially if you've been to World Finals. Even when you took your hiatus, I think you were still going to finals, weren't you, Ray?
No.
Oh, you even took them from World Finals.
Yeah, I did no shows. I didn't do any shows. I didn't do any judging. I didn't do anything.
Oh, so when I took my hiatus, I went down to doing like 10 shows a year. That was my
That's
first
not a hiatus.
That's not what you call a hiatus.
That was. I took like a 3 or 4 year hiatus. I was down to like 10 shows a year. So, anyway, so we'll just hit on it real quick. The sound deadening, Ray was explaining to us. Why don't you explain kind of where we ended as judges and how we're going to proceed with the sound deadening, Ray?
Sure. Just a couple of things. I mean, let's just recap the rule. Section 3-8E says sound deadening materials, expanding foam and tape, an unlimited amount of sound damping materials may be used throughout the vehicle, provided no other application or applicable rules are violated. Additional restrictions. So I think that the part that's confusing is the total thickness of sound damping materials installed in an interior space or interior surface of a passenger compartment, excluding enclosed spaces within the doors, is limited to 2 inches. Okay, this includes the ceiling, the floor, the firewall, surfaces underneath the dash. So there's a lot of confusion there. People are saying that, can you have more than 2 inches? Well, if you're behind a panel and there's 5 inches of depth in there, then go ahead and put 5 inches because you're still allowed to use an unlimited amount of sound deadener. Okay.
Oh, so you're
What we
talking
don't
like
want-
behind the dash, say. So
Correct.
like behind the dash, I mean, your dash sticks out 16 inches in some vehicles.
Correct.
You'd be able
Correct.
to fill that whole dash with sound deadener of some kind,
If you wanted to, yes.
Yes.
As long as
And you
you're
don't-
not
violating any other
changing-
rules.
right. So if you put it behind a door panel and the door panel protrudes, 3-5 inches, and no, that's not the intent, right?
Correct. So there's some questions as far as how we're going to judge this and stuff like that. I mean, I guess the first onus is to use our eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
If we look at it and it looks pretty obvious, we're going to obviously investigate further and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
In those instances where we think it might be questionable, the method that I've used for the past decade, around the world is that I use this simple tool right here, a little pick tool. It's very small. It's not intrusive. It
Mhm.
won't damage your sound deadener immensely. I just take this, I gently press up against where the sound deadener is, and I just slowly start pushing until I get to a solid spot. Typically, that's the metal of the vehicle. I have in other vehicles found wood and such things inside there, which we've had to have them removed, but that's for another day and another story. But basically, let's say it stops there. Then we just grab it, pull it out, and then we'd know how much sound deadener there is. Most sound deadeners have some sort of butyl and stuff in it. After this is removed, all you got to do is press on it gently. It seals back up. If it's I think it's Sundown that makes the stuff that you torch on, or Alfred has that too, where you have to torch it. You just reheat it, press it, it just seals right back up. It does not damage the sound deadener at all, at least from all the ones that I've done. And I've probably poked in the neighborhood of around 1,000 cars around the globe, and we've never had any issues. So I'm fairly confident. I mean, it could be that
Yeah.
0.01% where the sound deadener completely crumbles and falls apart, but not likely. So that's how we're going to do it. If there's any questions on that, feel free to reach out. But
Yep.
like I said, it's fairly straightforward.
I want to know how you can get that through the airport.
Well,
Put it on
I
your
put it in, I
check
put it in
bag.
my luggage and I ship
I
it in the
got you.
Check
underbelly,
bag.
and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
In your check
'Cause,
bag, you're good.
yeah, you take it over there to Europe or something like that, and
So
They
Dave
might.
Bradshaw chimes in with, if anything over 2 inches is considered a lot, I'm the man. So
there must be hidden meaning in that, right?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, since we're on the sound deadener, I did have somebody reach out for me in Europe, wanted to know, since we're doing all the sound deadener stuff, can you have sound deadener on the outside of the firewall, so in the engine bay compartment, on the inside, if that makes sense. So engine compartment, firewall, outside, so in the engine compartment facing the interior, if that makes sense.
Yes.
100%. Should be no problem. But
Yep.
do we have a limit on the amount of sound deadener that we can put on that space?
See, so I actually brought that up to Wayne. Because that's considered the undercarriage of the vehicle, right?
Well, if it's underneath, but I'm talking about the firewall,
Firewall
like,
itself.
directly. So here's the firewall.
Yeah.
Here's the engine. Here's the interior of the vehicle, right?
Uh-huh.
So I mean, a lot of like race cars will put sound deadener on this area anyways.
Mine absolutely does.
And
It's actually
a lot
heat
of them
shields.
make sound deadener specifically for that area. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 100% okay with, but I guess maybe we should clarify. Are we going to have a limit on that?
We should. I actually brought that up to Wayne at one point. I think he believes like most engines will restrict that amount, but
It's pretty tight enough as
but
it is.
but you and I both know, Ray. I mean, the people that are competing at this level are just ridiculous, and they will literally weld in engine mounts and move the engine forward so they can add more.
Well, if
Tell
there's
me
a
I'm
will,
wrong.
there's a way. If there's a will, there's a way.
That's
People are
right.
definitely going to try to, everything to their advantage to try to get that, tenth of a decibel, right?
So Chris Gregory says, basically, I interpret the rule as deadener being used to take up space, not deaden panels. So I'm guessing he's thinking that is not allowed. And then Nick Semino says, yes, everybody wants to forget the part that says, as long as it does not violate any other rules. Which, do you want to speak to that? We had a really good conversation at World Finals about that portion of it also. So you want to speak to that, Ray? The part where
About
people just ignore the does not violate any other rules part.
Yeah, I mean, just you get excited after reading the first half and going, yeah, I can put unlimited sound deadener, and they just give her, right?
Right.
But I mean, it still has to look OEM. It still has to have the same contours. Everything that was there still needs to be there, right?
Yep. And along with that is, I mean, also you can't take up interior volume of the
Right.
right. You can't reduce the
Because
volume
now
of
you're
the cab.
modifying the listening area of the vehicle, right?
Right, which is also another rule that you could potentially be violating with this. So, so then at that point it becomes a build up and build down, which are against the rules
Correct.
in most
Correct.
classes. So, oh, Nick Semino says structural reinforcement talk, please.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a limit from when you get to too much sound ender and it becomes structural reinforcement. But I don't think that's what Nick's talking about specifically. He's talking about if you build something like a cage for the exterior of the vehicle, that is definitely structural reinforcement. Very similar to how you would have a strut bar on these high performance vehicle where they link the two struts together to prevent the vehicle body from rolling and stuff like that.
Correct.
If you build an exterior cage for whatever you're doing for your vehicle, you're adding structure to it. That's why for a long time we had battery boxes had to be behind the B-pillar, right? Because if you mount it underneath and you weld it to like the undercarriage there, you've structurally reinforced the front cavity where we're measuring the SPL sound system, right?
Correct. I would agree with that. Let's see. He says then. If you were to build up, he says you can eat up 4 to 8 cubes of volume with sound deadener in a vehicle, which is, I believe, happened at more than at least one vehicle at World Finals. And then he says, then you should be in Super Street X, which is correct, right?
Yeah,
so if you take a Super Street car, you build it up, now you have a floor or a roof build up or build down, that automatically puts you into Super Street X. We, despite anybody's thoughts, we are not trying to disqualify anybody from competing. It may
100%.
not be the class that you wanted to compete in if
Correct.
your car does not qualify.
Correct.
Just like somebody that
But
rolls
I mean,
in with the CRX, right? He might not qualify as a street car because of the modifications he did. But and he 100% rolled into the show thinking he was going to be super street or street stock, you know?
Mm-hmm. You're right. At the end of the day, 100%, all these vehicles, even the ones that have the 18 inches of sound deadener, I mean, that's an exaggeration, but let's say you did have that, you would still fall into Super Street X. So there is 100% a category that you can still compete inside of DB drag racing. So we're definitely not alienating anybody. What we're trying to do is level the playing field for all of those in all the classes on a global scale. We're not trying to single out any specific competitors or any specific vehicles and stuff like that. If you have too much and you feel that there's too much, then put yourself in Super Street X or take some of it out. I mean, you're the builder of the vehicle, so I'm sure you have an idea of what you've put into it or how much you've gotten into it. Or if you don't, maybe take a minute and just take a look to see how much you actually have put into there, right?
Yep. Like I said, and one thing that people don't understand fully also is when Ray, Jeffrey, and myself, and Wayne and the other judges look at rules, we're looking at a worldwide plethora of different cars. So we're talking to people in South Africa, in over in Asia, the people in Europe and Russia and all these places, and they're like, and we would say, hey, this rule works great in the United States because there's cars that aren't like this, and they go, oh, well, you just alienated this car, this car, this car. That's my top 4 or 5 guys that I even had competing last year, and now they have nowhere to play, right?
So, and a really good rule about that, or a really good comment about that is, at one point in time, we had talked about potentially having a class where we'd only have vehicles that had C-pillar builds, which is fantastic,
right?
Because there's a lot of cars in North America that are 4 doors, but you go over to Europe, and I'm telling you, 60% of the cars are 2 doors. So those vehicles would never even be able to compete in that category at all, right?
Right. Yeah, they don't get Suburbans over there.
Yeah,
right.
very, very few. I have seen a couple, but not very many.
Oh wow.
So,
but pandas, though, if you want pandas, I'm telling you. So my daughter lives in Italy now, and I'm telling you, you can walk down just about any street in Italy, and there will be pandas there, like littered all over the street.
Like you just pick one up and take it home. I mean, they're small enough you can carry them.
Like new ones, like
no, like older ones, but they're still
ones,
in good shape, and they all drive them. Like I see lots of old grannies in their 60s driving around in these pandas and stuff like that. But they're everywhere in Italy.
Okay. All right. So Here's a break the internet type question. So Kevin Santacroce, I guess. He says, I'd like for you guys to talk about clamp cheating, aka ghost powering, and how this will be enforced in the future.
Well, I haven't seen it yet.
Right.
Okay. I have gone to many competitions around the globe. I have personally clamped in the neighborhood of about 10,000 or more specific runs, and I've never seen it. I do know that large amplifiers can create EMI, which is, interference and stuff like that,
Yep.
but that typically interferes with other stuff, not the actual measurement itself. Or it'll just make it so it won't read at all.
Right.
But
so
we-
you'll see, 0.4 volts. And you're like, yep, that
Yep.
didn't work.
So, but there's a lot of AI built into the term lab now. I
Mhm.
mean, it's not 100% foolproof, but basically, if it doesn't clamp, we just don't allow that particular amplifier inside that category.
Yep.
Right.
And once again, we're not excluding anybody. It just won't be
Right.
in that class. He'll have to move up to a super street or an
To,
unclamped
like-
class.
Or no
Any
limit.
Or just go to
class.
pro stock no limit.
No limit.
Or possibly
we can't clamp
no
your
limit.
vehicle,
Yep.
so we just move to pro, like no limit,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here.
So,
What
I
is-
mean-
oh, go ahead.
I would truly love to have somebody show me that. Like I have yet to see it.
What's his name? Munson offered to pay somebody to show him it, and nobody came up with it.
And I mean, I get what the other side is saying. Well, nobody wants to show you because then they can't do it. But the thing is, we see all the same amplifiers
Right.
in the lanes all the time. And I see guys doing the same numbers, whether they're using a Brazilian amplifier, whether they're using a Korean amplifier, whether they're using a Chinese manufactured amplifier. Guys are still doing relatively close to the same numbers, with the same amount of power. So I got a guy here in my area that's doing like 150 dB at 1K. I see guys, and he's using a Korean amplifier. I see guys down in the US doing 150 dB with a Brazilian amplifier. But the numbers don't lie when the SPL is very similar, right? And the amount of power that's used is very similar. And it's not just here, it's globally where the numbers are relatively close to each other.
Yeah.
And plus, we visually inspect the speaker wire going into the amplifier. I think someone had mentioned something about reversing, polarities or something like that. I mean, we know
that-
it's coming positive, negative.
And it doesn't matter because we're working with the AC voltage, right? So
Right.
if you go positive or negative with the clamp, as long as your leads, one's positive, one's negative, it doesn't matter which one's which.
Mhm.
So
I mean, so
it's going to have a swing, right?
There is 100%. There's always a way to cheat. Okay.
There is.
Yeah.
Here's a really good example of a potential way that you could cheat, but it'd be really difficult to do. You have two wires coming out of your amplifier going into your box. Inside your box, you have a false cavity, which has a second amplifier in it, which I have no idea how you get all those wires into there. But let's just say we don't happen to see those.
Yeah.
And that particular other amplifier is the other half of the bridge amplifier. So when you clamp it, you're only seeing half of the power. But I mean, it'd be fairly obvious. You got a power, you got a ground, you got remote turn on, you got signal wires running into there. It's difficult. When we have only two conductors allowed, it's difficult to cheat the system.
Mhm.
When we had multiple conductors back in the day, I mean, I discovered in Europe, in Germany, I think it was, a guy was using braided speaker wire. And what he was doing was he was braiding one of the powers in with the negatives and one of the negatives with the powers, right?
Yeah.
And I told him to take it out. He's like, no. And I said, listen, I'm not clamping it there or testing it there. This is what's going to happen, or you're not going to compete. It was simple, right? And I mean, there's probably photos online of the ones that I took showing that, but just to be aware, like we've tried to mitigate as much as we can to reduce the potential errors or the potential ways to cheat. Obviously, like I said, if there's a will, there's a way, but we're going to try to, do the best that we can to ensure that it's level, not just here, but around the globe.
Yep. Hey, so Nick here, just so you know, Nick says, Doug, don't skip my question. I'm not trying to skip your question. I'm trying to keep up with all the stuff, and it depends how it comes in on my board. Yours did come in, but I just so you guys are aware, if I do miss your question, it's not intentional. It's I'm trying to get it however it pops up on my machine. So
We
anyway,
also have time restraints too, right? Like
we
we're only
absolutely
limited.
do.
No, right.
So Nick Semino's asking now. So he goes, so when you weld in a square tube box inside the engine bay, claiming it's to hold your engine, let's be real, welding a cage side to side, front and back, and to the firewall, that's a structural reinforcement, is what he's making a suggestion for.
I 100% agree that
Yeah.
that is definitely potentially a structural reinforcement piece.
Yep.
I mean, there is a particular vehicle with that particular setup in there, but mounted to their strut towers and stuff like that. And for sure, it definitely structurally makes it stronger, right?
Yep.
In my opinion, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're not physicists, we're not, but we're just trying to stay away from that type of stuff. We don't want to see builds like that.
Yep.
Is what we're trying to move towards. We're going to make these small course corrections and get back to more of our old school stuff where there's a lot more fun and a lot less drama and stuff like that.
Right, and that also falls in the same category. Is this year's judges, we want to move the onus on the competitor of saying this is legal. You show me where it's legal, versus it's not in the rule book, so it's automatically legal. Right?
Yeah.
That's what we decided as judges this year. Is we're going to move that direction as our starting point with any question somebody has about a rule.
Yeah, it's easier that way, right? I mean, then we're not judges trying to figure out and do all the research behind what vehicle that is from, what options came on that vehicle. If the competitor can go out there and they can do all the research and they can prove to us, hey, look, written in black and white, here is exactly how it was, and this is how it should be, then that's fine. That's 100%, we can agree to that, right?
Right.
But when you're on the spot, you're at a 3X event, you're trying to run the show, you got 50 cars on the go, you're an hour behind schedule because you had a power failure or whatever, and they want you to make a decision right now.
Yep.
No. If the competitor came up to you and goes, here, take a look at this is why I believe it's legal, take a look at my car, and you can go, yeah, I can clearly see that, that's 100% no problem, let's move on.
Yep.
Right?
And I will tell you though, as soon as the show's over, I'm going to get a call, Ray's going to get a call, Jeffrey's going to get a call, whatever, and we will talk as judges, go, hey, this is what I saw today, this is how they presented it to me, what are your thoughts? And just because we allowed it that one time, and if it shouldn't have been allowed, the very next show we see you at, we'll say, hey, look, my bad or whatever, we talked about the judges, I understand where you came from, but this is why we say that's not good. I mean, we're human, right? We make mistakes. But we do our best to correct them and make sure everything's good moving forward. That's our intention.
100%.
So Justin Stolman says in here, so if you build a show vehicle, put lithium caps in the rear bumper with plexiglass windows, that's considered extreme now. Actually, you would probably only be able to... So that would be part of your sound system outside the OEM skin, is what he's saying, right?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean,
no, because he would have changed his OEM skin to plexi instead of, right? He would have just had his OEM skin if he put it in plexi as a bumper. I mean, it'd be that's a difficult one. We would have to actually see it, I think, Justin, to give a true answer to that. Wally Johnson says on here, I've seen a cab 45 read off, but it's in the wrong direction. Change volume clicks on the radio and can change power by 1K. I personally haven't seen that, but I've seen where, like a 12,000 watt amp or whatever, one click and the guy goes up 4K. And that's due to input voltage. Radios knobs aren't rheostats. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
you go up a click, yeah.
Yeah. So Tyler Archer says
the only odd thing that I've ever seen inside of the power thing is that if you are burping a vehicle and the impedance curve hasn't met up to where the power is reading. So, for example, you hit a big burp. the term lab reads it faster than the impedance can build up in the
In the box
box, for
itself.
example,
Yeah.
you'll get a high power reading and a low SPL, for example.
Right.
Or it, so I've seen stuff like that, but that's an invalid run, so you just run it over again, right?
Yep. And so I've seen it the other way too, where your SPL doesn't change, but your power goes up and up and up, and that's
Right.
due to the exact same thing. So now you have impedance rise within the box, so it's not reading as much power, or it's the SPL um, may go up and it's not reading any power because it's starting to build a wave and starting a couple waves to get a little bit louder. Chris Gregory says, just do base race, less headache. I'm not disagreeing.
Genius.
Yes. Nick Semino says, thank God that's clarified because some are under the impression that if it passes at 1-3X, it should be grandfathered in all the way to finals. And that is 100% not our intention. We actually, in the World Finals rules itself, we even have that in there, that it's judges' discretion, and each event is its own individual thing. So,
Doug, I think you gave a really good analogy of exactly how it actually works. If you consider a single 3X event like your local courthouse, there is a single judge that sits on the panel that kind of makes those decisions. And then if something happens there and you end up in the Supreme Court, where there's a panel of like 7 or 8 judges, that's like world finals for us, right? You come to finals, there's 7 or 8 judges. In our instance, we're going to try to alleviate all of this stuff or mitigate all this stuff prior to finals. So after Doug has his 3X or I have my 3X and I see something questionable, we'll have a conversation, we'll have a discussion about it, and we'll get back to the competitor prior to the next event, right?
Yep.
But that's kind of a really good analogy. Your local show, your local 3X is like going to the local courthouse, right? When you go to the next event or the finals or whatever, where you have an entire panel of judges, is going to be like the Supreme Court, where we have a panel of judges where we'll have deliberations and we'll talk about everything and stuff like that, right?
Yep. And that's one of the that's one of the great things. Like right here, Chris Pate says, if it's judges' discretion, then shouldn't all judges be on the same page? And that's 100% why the World Finals in a single location is a phenomenal thing, because I guarantee, Chris, in your household only, say you're married and you have 3 kids and 2 of them are teenagers, the way you guys have read the same exact story is going to be totally different how you interpret what it is. So your wife can read Eat, Love, Pray, and you read Eat, Love, Pray, or whatever. I think that's what it is. And you're going to read it and go, well, yeah, that's just a bunch of whiners, and it's about trying to make people feel better. And your wife's going to read the same thing, and it's going to be, oh, no, this is about their heart and who they truly are as a person. So you guys read the same exact thing, but you got 2 totally different ideas out of what the intent was of that book. So the rules are the same way. That's why when we get together as a panel, or we get together at World Finals, or we talk about it on the phone, we come to a decision as a whole. And
Correct.
This way we can see it together, we can talk about it together, and that makes a huge difference. But we do talk amongst ourselves as judges quite often. I got so many texts to and from Ray, emails, phone calls. Same with Jeffrey. Jeffrey will call me during a show. Hey, this is what I see. Wyatt does that too. Jeremy Creamer does. So, I mean, we as a judging staff are really, more time than you guys can imagine we spend trying to make sure we have a very good, consistent judging staff. I mean, Ray travels all over the world and does it. He comes out to California to, may come to do one of my shows. And, it is, we try to be the best we possibly can. So, Let's see. Final rules: base race tracks. No more tracks coming or not changing on or not changing anything. Uh, the last I heard, he was looking into more tracks. But as the rule sits right now, you have to use boom check. And for those people that haven't tried boom check, I don't know what to tell you. Boom check's real easy to use. I mean, I jump in random cars and I'm able to do 9.9s with it.
So I think there's more of a concern with the high SPL vehicles. I think on one of your
Right.
previous podcasts,
yes,
a competitor or somebody had messaged in or whatever and said something about, well, I'm sure not going to do 159.9 on a track that's 7 frequencies off of where my peak
Where your
is.
peak.
yeah.
Right.
But if you're
It's
7 off, then you're on the wrong track because the tracks are only about 6 hertz apart.
yeah.
So at worst,
Find the
you
one
could
that
be
has the
3.
least amount of drop.
So you just have to right. So you're gonna at worst you're only gonna be 3 hertz off with the existing tracks.
Correct.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
just-
boom check 6 here shows 67 hertz. So I wonder how much higher does your vehicle peak at?
Well, I mean, base race guys should definitely be, playing music or more or less music. So it shouldn't be a problem. I mean, their
Right.
vehicles should have a fairly decent bandwidth as far as the amount of, frequencies that they can play, if that makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
I get it. There's always going to be one that's stronger as far as the sheer SPL side of things, but definitely there should be one that's close.
That's why I tell everybody if I was gonna build just a base race vehicle, I would do a single 10 sealed. That has with a great like a Q of 7. That way, it doesn't matter what song I play, I'm gonna be able to, I'm gonna be able to control the system, for sure. So Nick puts on here, so bullying a judge at a 3X event, pulling out the rule book on him is a no-no. LOL. So we
Correct.
don't encourage bullying at all. But if you want to pull out a rule book and show me where a rule is in a rule book at a 3X, I welcome that.
Right. Respectfully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say the same thing, Ray? I mean,
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Because now you're gonna show me exactly what that rule is.
There's the
Correct.
onus part, right?
Yes. Onus is
What
on.
we're not going to have is, competitors come up to us and threaten us and say, hey, listen, I'm going to pack up my vehicle and leave this event unless you do this or unless you do that.
Right.
Like that 100% is bullying, because what they're trying to
Right.
do is get you to conform to what they want you to do, or they're going to leave your event, et cetera, et cetera. So that we're not going to stand for.
So this question from Chris Pate again. He says, then why is sound check always singled out? So here would be why sound check is singled out. When you are the top guy in the world, or we know you're going to go to finals and you have a run, you're doing a world record run. Your every eye of the judges is going to be on that vehicle. Am I wrong, Ray, Jeff?
No, you're right. Here,
Yeah.
It's
I have
not
another.
singled out.
Right. I don't think it's in that context as singled out.
Right. You're the
So-
top of the game.
Agreed.
Everybody's going to be looking at you, the competitors and the judges.
So, I mean, I have some other examples of,
Okay.
of getting singled out. So a competitor in Brazil, Cal, I'm not sure if you guys know him, but I was down
Oh yeah.
doing one of his, I can't remember if it was finals or one of the big events. Anyways, I looked over his vehicle and he had something that was illegal in the vehicle. Okay. I said, listen, I'm not trying to single you out, but here's what's going to happen. You're either going to fix this and compete, or you're not going to fix it and not compete. But again, the choice is yours, right?
Right.
We're not trying to single out anybody. We're just trying to make it fair for everybody across the globe.
Uh-huh. And it truly is across the globe. So, Justin, I promise you I'm not ignoring you, but I answered it the best I could. There's really, for something as technical, I would say, as what you're talking about, it's such a one-off case. We would have to see it in person to make any true decisions, okay?
Are we talking about the lithium battery in the custom plexiglass bumper?
Yeah. It's so hard.
We'd have to see how the plexiglass bumper is. There, how close is it to the OEM one? Did you make more space by changing the OEM skin look to
Right.
see if there's more? There's a lot to it, and you can't just do it by yes you can or no you can't. You have to do a
Mm-hmm.
physical, right?
Yes. Oh, and which brings me to what I should have started with again. Once again, everything we're talking about here is our opinions of the questions, the way we understand that you are telling us. This is not an actual ruling on any vehicles or anything like that. This is just a way to interpret, and we believe in the interpretation to how you are explaining it to us. Remember, when you go to a judge and they see it in person, that could be a totally different story because the way you're explaining it may not be the way it is in our eyes. So, is that fair? Okay. Um, uh, we're trying to have agreed here. So I think Chris Gregory agreeing with us on the base race
Mm-hmm.
thing. Anybody can use the boom check. Let's see. Sean, have you gotten to try any? I don't. Oh, try out some new songs, I think is what he's talking about. Um, I don't do any of that part. Wayne looks at him on his computer or whatnot, or he talks to the production company and sees about that. Alonzo Romero, where do we get Boom Check? Is there a download? Asking for a friend. Alonzo Romero.
Just buy yourself a membership. It's a free download after you get the
Exactly.
membership.
That's right. And once you have it, you have it. But you should support the organization that you enjoy participating in, right? So you should get it. Not gonna go there. Boom Check has a gap from 39 to 52 hertz. So
39 to 52. I'm gonna say that's not possible
there isn't because there's
because
a couple of boom checks in there.
for sure there's one that's
at
at 42,
42.
43.
Yeah, there's one at
Yeah,
42,
100%.
and I know
100%.
there's one at 51. So I mean, and that's for sure. So no, there is no gap, guaranteed.
What does he mean by gap? In
Where
As
there's
one
in
no
like
particular
missing
songs, I
song?
believe.
frequencies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
missing frequencies.
In one song, or going down from boom check 1 to 6, or
I'm guessing he's just saying that there's those frequencies don't exist between 39 and 52. I know for a fact 42 exists because I suggest that to people. That's boom check 4, in case you didn't know. Let's see. Is anything over 70 hertz allowed? Anyways, if you're talking about bass race, I don't think there's any boom checks over. What'd you say it was? 60 what hertz?
I saw 67 on this.
So
This is actually
67 hertz.
yeah, 66, 67.
And it has an 80 hertz cap on it. Anyway, right? Doesn't bass race have an 80 hertz cap? I believe.
Yeah, I think all of our formats, that's the highest frequency you can
Yeah.
play is 80 hertz.
Okay, here's a big long question from Antonio Andresa.
Hmm.
Is there a conversation amongst judges that in some parts of the world there are no 3X or 4X certified judges? I ask this because in some places around the world you don't have 3X or 2X certified judges, making it difficult to have more events in these regions.
Hmm.
Okay, so Wally, I'll get to you in just a second. That's the next question here about the boom check songs. Okay, so for you guys that aren't 2X or 3X certified, or you want to become, or you want somebody to become one in your area, there is a criteria you can get with DB Drag and find out what that criteria is. But the short version of it is you have to hold so many 1X events with all the restrictions of holding an event. Then you can be evaluated and go to World Final, or no, you don't have to go to World Finals. And then you can become a certified 1X judge. After you do that, you have to attend a World Finals and do so many more shows and assist at, I believe, 2 3X shows. And that's how you become a 2X certified judge. And then
Yeah, there's a little bit of shadowing on both ways. So, for example, to become a multi-point certified judge, you have to do an event, and another certified judge, like a 3X or 4X judge, has to watch you do the event to ensure that you can understand how the system works as far as the laptop, the software? Can you answer questions under pressure? You're in the middle of running the show.
Mm-hmm.
You got some things going sideways, and somebody comes up with XYZ question. Are you able to manage all of that? What's your bedside manner like? How do you talk to
Yep.
competitors? Are you okay making announcements and controlling the flow of the entire event and stuff like that? So there's a lot involved in becoming an actual judge and stuff like that. But the process from getting from 1x to 2x to 3x to 4x is pretty much the exact same, with the exception of you just have to do additional shows, and part of it is volunteering and or flying judges into your area in order to get certified, because you can never become a multi-point certified judge if you only stay in your backyard, because you're only going to see the same 20 or 30 vehicles. You're not going to have any experience. You're not going to understand anything outside of what your competitors do in your area. Maybe other areas across the, even in like Western USA and Eastern USA.
Yeah.
Western USA, we have a lot of like, what do we call them?
SUVs.
Ground pounders or
Yeah.
guys that like to play music and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Daily
On Eastern
drivers.
side, they're definitely more focused on SPL. Well, if you only stayed in Western US, you might not never see any high SPL vehicles, because the vast majority of them are going to be your ground pounders, your daily drivers. So you can never get multi-point certified unless you volunteer and travel to do some shows, and then have somebody come in and watch you do some events and stuff like that. That's just the process. You can't get certified in anything else that you do unless you go to some schooling, do some stuff, do the work, et cetera, et cetera. So we have a very similar process.
And that's what's important, right? And that's how we're trying to make the judging consistent across the board. And like I said, we talk as judges and whatnot, so it's really important if you do want to become a multi-point certified judge in a part that doesn't have it. Ray travels a lot, and he is a good evaluator. He's been around a long time, and he's very, I wouldn't say motivated. I think he's very focused on what he's looking at. He is in my opinion, he is a very, very good evaluator of how the show is ran and how someone commands themselves and their presence at an event.
Could it be just maybe a lack of judges in his area, perhaps?
So that could, but he was asking about getting 2x and 3x, and if there is a lack of judges, talk to a stereo shop, and maybe they want to do just a monthly show, and and become a 1x judge, and as they do it, they're gonna want to possibly become 3x judges.
I was trying to see where he was located, and
Antonio, tell us where you're located.
Just hovering over his name here, it shows Sao Paulo. That's Brazil, right?
Sao Paulo,
so Sao Paulo is Brazil.
Yeah, there should be. There's a couple of judges out there.
Well, okay, let's.
No, right now there isn't.
There used to be a bunch of 3x certified judges and 4x certified judges in Brazil, but they're no longer doing it.
Yes.
Long story short, son got kidnapped, held for ransom, a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
It's a third world country, so there is definitely some potential there, if you're making good money or if somebody's after you or whatever the case might be. So they've essentially retired. We're in the process of getting more multi-point judges in the area. It's not an easy
in the
task.
Caribbean islands, where they can.
For sure.
They were saying they can get to Brazil fairly easy.
Yeah. So I mean, I did a show back in last year in April, I think it was, maybe. I don't remember the date. So I was in Brazil, but our guy from Argentina flew over to Brazil because it's a lot closer. So he did the judges training at the same time and stuff like that, right? So.
Okay. Oh yeah, he actually commented again saying, "Thanks for the clarification. I asked this question because in Brazil we only have 1x events, making it difficult to certify records being possible only when we bring judges from abroad." So
that just happens to be where we're at in there. Let's see. I want to hit this base race song real quick, or this question. 20. So Wally says boom check tracks are 20, 27, 33, 39, 53, 66.
So that's a pretty good,
So he's saying there's a gap between 39 and 53.
39 and 53, okay.
But I know I play a song that does 52 or 42 hertz. So.
And who knows? I mean, that's not to say that, we're not looking into adding those specific frequencies, but we don't really want to go overboard and put, do one for every frequency, because I mean,
We
I
still
don't
want
know.
to have a level of skill involved. I mean,
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, we don't want a test tone. That's the whole idea we're trying to get away from, right?
Right.
So
Right.
Celise posted in here real quick. Oh, shoot. About 10 minutes ago. She said competitors must use music tracks from the official base race competition CD or a digital copy of the CD provided by the judges. At a multi-point event, if an event takes place prior to the release of the official CD, then the music tracks from the prior DB Jam or base race competition CD may be used in the interim. So, anyway, oh, there's Jeffrey chatting with us. Gorman is Nick Semino now put in there. Hold on, wait. Warren says pushing the gray areas is a big reason why people get singled out. I don't think that's necessarily a thing. I don't think we single people out for pushing gray
Right.
areas.
Yeah.
I think more we single people out for being the top person because we
well,
need
let's be
to
honest. If you're set a
verify.
world record,
Yeah.
first of all, we have to audit your vehicle.
Yep.
So we are doing the entire global DB drag racing community a disservice if we
Yes.
don't audit the vehicle. So when you get up there and you're at a 3X event or you're at finals and you set a world record, 100%, we have to pull your entire vehicle apart and we check them. I've audited hundreds of vehicles all over the world. They don't feel like they're getting singled out.
So that brings up right here. Nick Semino puts in there. Gorman is the top of the game. He doesn't get singled out because he has integrity. It's not because he has integrity, and he's not being singled out. We do the same to his car as we do anybody else's that hits a world record. He's just not as vocal about whatever the decisions are. Would that be accurate? I mean, I don't. We treat
Yeah.
him no different than anybody else.
For sure.
And we don't give him special privileges at all. And he
I mean,
definitely is.
you
top
can feel
guy,
free
right?
to reach out to RP and ask him how many times I've had direct conversations with him.
And me too.
I absolutely. We are more than happy to help him out in every which
Yep.
way we can.
Yep.
100%.
And he's been transparent with us as well. I mean,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not entirely sure why people say that we single a specific, group out, or especially them, because, if they're trying to be transparent with us, and
Yeah.
I've always there's a saying that says you inspect what you expect. So it's okay. Well, let's check it out. We're not. I just don't see it. I don't see how people are thinking we're singling a specific group out. So.
Yep. Mel Valadez changed his name to SPL Mel Valadez now.
SPL Mel.
SPLML, are you done with that sound quality stuff? Is that what I just heard you say?
Uh-oh.
He says, I think one of the things he sees from around the world is the seats that look like they will not lock into place. I will tell you at the events, your seat has to lock into a place, and the mic jig has to fit between your seat and the box and anything there. So if it doesn't, I mean, it's not like we allow him to like jump on it and get a couple gorillas and freaking slam it until it locks and then tweak his frame. The mic jig still has to run between the box and the, it's a 1/4-inch gap. And my mic jig, Jeffrey's mic jig, I'm sure Ray's mic jig is all 1/4-inch wide, thick, and we run that through to make sure it works. All right, guys, I only have about 2 more minutes on here. I didn't get to all the questions. Wow, there are a lot of questions. Celeste answered some of the questions in the chat. So if you guys want to check out some of her answers, you can check on that. We'll do this again in 1 month, which will be the second Monday of the week, or second Monday of the month. And we'll try and get this. Like I said, have your questions ready to go. And if you hit us first, the earlier you hit us, the better chance we're going to hit it. Well, we've already hit 6:30. Once again, I got to go take some old people's money. I did okay this weekend.
Nice.
I missed a 10 pin, and it cost me going for the 100K. But I put in $400 into side action. I got 1,300 back. So I think I did okay. I got 1,700 back because my profit was 1,300. So I think I did okay even for not making a run at the $100,000.
So I mean, if Mel wants to reach out and you maybe send us some photos of vehicles that he sees that he thinks won't fit or latch back into place. I mean, I have personally sat in over 150 different Pandas to ensure that the back seats go back into their locking position and stuff like that, and my butt is not on top of like the amplifier or batteries aren't digging into my back and stuff like that. So I mean, I've sat in a lot of different vehicles. Even at finals, if
Yeah,
there
I
was a
saw you
Panda
do
there,
that.
I probably sat
Yep.
in one. Like it's just practice because you have to do it. That's the only way to verify, right?
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Any last words, Ray? I appreciate you being here first off, but any last words?
Yeah.
Oh, so first of all, I mean, I want to thank all of you guys. I want to thank the viewers and stuff like that. I mean, I look forward to growing our community and stuff like that. And with every question, we get better at, building a stronger, more consistent community between competitors, between judges, et
Yep.
cetera, right? So,
Absolutely. And like I said, hopefully this is a way for you guys to ask these questions that you feel don't get answered in the DB drag, questions. Sometimes we don't see them, and sometimes they just get lost. Like we start discussing them and they get lost. So hopefully this is a way for you guys to let us know, your questions and we can answer them. Jeffrey, what you got going on? Anything?
This Sunday, I got a show out here at Crossfire Car Audio. It's a triple point event. It's going to be starting at 12 p.m. Check out dbdragracing.com for all the details, as well as a feature calendar of events, which we're going to be having pretty soon. I got a couple of guys from SoCal hit me up. We're going to be doing a couple of shows out there in the next few months. So, yeah.
All right, sounds good.
Awesome.
My show season's really starting to kick off. We have some IASCA events happening right now out in California. We're gonna start some DB drive. We're just doing like one a month right now, so I'll probably run another one here in a couple weeks in February. Then obviously in March. So yeah, we got these things going. Oh, but I finalized the details on Autorama. So yes, so we will be having a 5X once again at Autorama. That will be April, I think 29th and 30th, whatever the last weekend in April is. So that's when we'll be doing the Autorama again this year. That'll be a 5X weekend, 2X on Saturday, 3X on Sunday. Ray's been to that show. Jeffrey's been to that show. We have a lot of really good cars that travel from a long ways apart, and we get through them fairly quickly. We do a good job on running the event. I have plenty of helpers. So look for more information on Autorama coming up real soon.
Cool.
Other than that, I want to thank Ray. Wyatt was not feeling well today. That's why he didn't jump in, but he will be here next month, most likely. Ray, it'll have to be closer to the time of the month so that he can check his calendar. With the 19 kids, he might have soccer or hockey or something or curling that he's got to go to and go watch that instead. So, so Ray will be last moment decision probably. Like 2 weeks in advance we'll know, but
yeah.
But he can't commit to every Monday that we're going to be doing this. He's going to make an attempt to. But myself, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks to Celise for posting in the chat some of the answers for us. I really appreciate that too. If you guys have stuff that you want to ask us, reach out to Jeffrey and I on Facebook. We'll share that with the other judges, obviously, and see if we can't get back to you on that. But also appreciate you doing it here on the Monday show so everybody can hear it. That's really cool. Once again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Jeffrey. You guys did it awesome tonight. Thank you for all the people that are watching. Let's help grow the community on YouTube. I'd love to get to 1,000 subscribers someday. So if you know anybody or you want to make yourself a throwaway account and subscribe, just do that. Whatever. I'm just saying. But I need to hit 1,000 subscribers. That's our first goal out there. We appreciate it. Jeffrey and I didn't get a chance. I was really distracted with my new sister. Jeffrey has some giveaways he wants to do. Most likely what we're going to do is I will put that on my I'll have email. So you guys will send me an email and that'll get you entered. And then I'll confirm that you are a member. And I think what we're going to do is you have to be a member of or you have to be a subscriber to the YouTube.
Yeah.
And then that'll and we'll do that. I'm going to talk to Jeffrey. We might even do a DB Drag membership as one of the giveaways. So that sounds reasonable. What do you think, Jeffrey?
Oh
Might-
yeah,
might have
I
to do
think
that.
once you do giveaways,
Yeah.
you add giveaways into the mix. YouTube subscribers, hey, that they go hand in hand.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Once again, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back again next week at 5:30 p.m. California time, the only time that does matter. But we will see you guys next week with Dan Horner. Oh, also remember to support those that support us. Puns Customs, Crossfire Car Audio. Don't forget about these guys. Man, go check them out. Do what you can to support them. Remember, support those who support the things that you love to do. And once again, we'll see you guys next week, 5:30 p.m. California time, the only time that matters. We're out.